and he's so anxious, so he decides to take off work and take a drive in the countryside to relax. So he's driving in the countryside, something happens to his car. Doesn't know what. So he goes out and he lifts up the hood and he looks across the field and he sees this guy fornicating with a sheep.
Now wait, make sure the boys know what fornicating with a sheep is.
We know it. You never heard this story? Oh, wait a minute. So this guy is outraged, and he runs over to this guy and he says, hey, you, what are you doing? He says, none of your business. So this guy goes into this little town and talks to the sheriff, and he says, I'm here to report a crime. So the sheriff, well, what is it? He says, I went out there and this farmer was fornicating with a sheep. So the sheriff says, well, hey, that's a crime. So they get to the prosecuting attorney and they file a charge against this guy. So the guy comes back and the farmer goes to his friend. He says, hey, Sam, he says, I've been charged with a crime. So Sam says, well, Jesus, what is it? And he told him. He says, that's a serious problem. He says, so the guy says, I need a lawyer. So the guy says, well, there are only 2 lawyers in town. He says there's this one guy from the big city. He's incredible. So he says, well, what's wrong with it? He says, very expensive. You can't afford it. So he says, well, who else is there? And he says, well, we got this farm lawyer that's here. He says he's not a great lawyer, but you know what? He's very good with the jury. So the guy says, well, I've got no choice. So they go to trial, and this farm lawyer is sitting with the guy charged. And this prosecuting witness who started the whole thing is on the witness stand. And he says, and the prosecuting attorney says, would you please describe for the jury what you saw? This guy looks and he says, this man here was fornicating with a sheep. And there's complete silence in the courtroom. And he says, then what happened? He said the sheep turned around and licked his privates. And one of the jurors said to the other one, you know what? A good sheep will do that for you.